History Month. Join KBLA Talk 1580 for its annual symposium, The State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live from Doolin Soul Food on Crenshaw, Friday, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., moderated by Dominique DePrima. And yes, breakfast is just $15.80. Come get fed twice. Your stomach and your mind will thank you. We'll see you Friday morning, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. at Doolin Soul Food on Crenshaw for the State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, your guest host. Really delighted to be here standing in for our friend and our brother, the Jesse Jackson Jr. We're in touch, and so you stay in touch. Be sure to follow us on all the social media platforms. You can follow me at Dr. Nicordelai. Just type in Dr. Niq, DRNIIQ, and there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to follow KBLA 1580. Go ahead and follow us on Instagram and on X and all the platforms. And while you're at it, be sure to subscribe. Subscribe to the KBLA YouTube channel. That way you don't just get to hear us, but you get to see us in action. And even more than that, you get to jump in the group chat and sound off on news of the day. I'm really delighted to be in conversation with a number of extraordinary leaders on the front line. Let me just give you a sense of where we're going to go with the show today. In our second hour, you can expect for us to go even deeper into the headlines with Reverend Teresa Hoard Owens. She'll be joining us. You might know her as the General Minister and President of the Christian Church in the United States and Canada. We'll be talking with her in short order about a lot of these headlines, some pretty disturbing headlines in the news. But in this first hour, I'm really delighted to welcome back to the show someone who's no stranger to the show, Ernest Krim III. He is joining us today, and let me just tell you that I have enjoyed my conversations here on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show with Ernest, who's an Emmy-nominated producer, Malcolm X and Dr. Betty Shabazz Vanguard Award winner. He's a public educator. And a lot of folks think of him as a modern-day griot and cultural competency specialist. He's a former public school history teacher. We love teachers here on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We love teachers here on KBLA. And he is a very well-recognized teacher who is now the CEO of Crims Cultural Consulting, where he helps schools and organizations and communities bridge cultural divides, bridge them through teaching overlooked historical narratives. Wow, there's no time like the present for this kind of work and witness. His work reaches millions online, challenging mainstream historical narratives and centering Black resilience and innovation. He is himself a survivor of viral hate crimes and has turned that personal pain into purpose, and not just any purpose, public purpose. I am delighted to welcome this South Side Chicago native to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Welcome, Ernest.
Hey, what's up, Dr. Cortez? Good to be here with you again, moving forward.
That's right. It's good to be here with you as well. Look, I'm sure you woke up as I did to another batch, I guess the latest installment of disturbing headlines. This morning, I was in conversation with a few sources about the situation at a number of U.S. airports across the country, including O'Hare Airport near you. But so many airports across the country. It seems that hundreds of TSA agents have called out. We know that Republicans keep failing to vote on a bill to pay TSA workers. And we know that as of this morning, according to a reliable source, 60 ICE agents were deployed and standing around really in two terminals at Newark Airport today. There's apparently a power struggle that exists between Tom Homan, who is leading ICE at the moment, and Secretary Tom Duffy of the U.S. Department of Transportation. We know that ICE agents are being asked to do a job that they are not trained for. Yet again, ICE agents have been deployed across the country to police our fellow Americans, all in the name of mass deportation, this mass deportation campaign. Well, their job description just got a little longer, but it's less clear. And that's not the only thing. What about our safety? How safe are we? At a time when our nation is at war in Iran, and where the list of foreign adversaries seems to be growing by the day, is this the time to have this kind of confusion at major points of entry like airports across the country? These are all questions that need answers, and we got the right one. More with Mr. Ernest Krim when we come forward. You're listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
All the women who independent, throw your hands up at me.
This March, we're turning up the volume on the women who changed everything. KBLA Talk 1580 is proud to celebrate Women's History Month, honoring the trailblazers, truth tellers, and game changers who shaped our world, our culture, and our community. From the freedom fighters to the firsts, from the boardroom to the front lines, from the unsung to the unforgettable, all month long, we're celebrating the stories, the voices, and the conversations that remind us that women, Black women, have always led the way. Don't miss a moment. This is our moment. This is our story. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580, Los Angeles' home for the conversations that matter.
I'm your girl, you're my girl, we're your girls. Won't you know that we love you? Febreze.
New Febreze Air Mist has 50% more odor fighters and up to 30% more fragrance than the old formula. So now you can take on 100% more stinky odors, like sweaty gym bags, greasy cooking smells, and the after effects of the dog rolling around in something. Just spray, and new Febreze Air instantly restores just clean freshness. Smell you later, odor.
Free happy. streets. La 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 la.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me.
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. And I'm delighted to be in conversation with Brother Ernest Krim III. He is our special guest this hour, Emmy-nominated producer, Malcolm X and Dr. Betty Shabazz Vanguard Award winner, and a public educator to really lend his ability to put this moment in its proper historical context. He is a former public school history teacher, and he's now the CEO of Krim's Cultural Consulting, where he helps organizations bridge the cultural divide between teaching overlooked historical narratives. Brother Krim, let's start there. I want to give you an opportunity to, place this moment in its proper historical context. We all woke up this morning to headlines swirling about some of the chaos across the country at U.S. airports. ICE has been given another duty. It is unclear what their mission is, but they have popped up en masse at airports across the country. As I shared moments ago, a very reliable source had shared that about 60 ICE agents as of this morning have been deployed to 2 terminals at Newark Airport in New Jersey. We know that there's an ICE contingent at O'Hare Airport, not very far from where you are in Chicago. ICE has been on mass deportation duty. And there were a number of folks who said when they got that assignment that ICE ain't trained to police people. They're not trained like the local police, and we still got issues with how the local police are trained, right? And so that's part of the reason why DHS has not received its funding yet, because Republicans have been so stubborn about embracing any reforms to how ICE does business. And so in the midst of that chaos happening on Capitol Hill, the chaos that we have seen in cities across the country with ICE leading this mass deportation campaign, and now the chaos that we're seeing in our nation's airports, put this moment in its proper historical context, because it seems to me we've been here before.
Yeah, for sure, Dr. Corte. I think it's important for folks to keep in mind, especially as Black people in this country, everything that we are seeing unfold with this administration and even the last term are things that we have experienced historically in this country. I want to remind people that Black folks have existed in this country without full citizenship and rights longer than they have with. So when we see this idea of ICE agents presumably getting ready to harass people at airports and things of that nature, let's remember that the Fourth Amendment, which is supposed to protect against this, was never fully implemented with us. We still have people, I'm sure, fighting cases in the New York area over stop and frisk. We've had issues like that in Chicago. There have been issues like that, of course, in LA. LAPD is notorious for that. So I want to remind people of that right there. And let's keep that at the top of our mind as we deal with this. And also, too, let's understand, because if I was in a class right now, I would have to make sure that I always reference back to previous time periods so that our kids can see these connections. We might call it synthesizing. And race, the construction of race and racism has been used in this country as a form of distraction so that the minority, the real minority who rest at the top of the economic ladder can continue to engage in the corruption that they engage in. Let's just keep in mind, in the midst of all of this, I saw a video recently of Trump. I think that he put a Columbus statue somewhere in DC, right? This is fairly new, so I haven't read a lot about it, but I did see the image of a Columbus statue. And again, we're not even, besides the fact that we know what Columbus is, what he represents as a genocidal maniac, that is very intentional. We understand what that symbol represents. Again, this divide and conquer strategy, y'all. We can go back into the 1640s with the John Punch case, the 1670s with Bacon's Rebellion, when things are starting to get, when people who are feeling the pressure the most begin to unite in some way and realize they're all being played, this is when the distractions come. This is intentional. He understands. And he also understands that he does not have to deal with it at all because he's not taking these airports and things like that. So what I think the American public, and especially Black folks, have to realize now is that this is all a part of the program. But we have to be rest assured that this is something that was preventable. And this is something that is preventable. Again, historical, the historical context in mind, what does it mean for us to avoid the distractions he's putting forth towards us and keep our eye on the prize? I think we have to make sure that we are in touch with folks who are aware of the law in this situation historically, because again, we know that when it comes to the Fourth Amendment and when it comes to people who are supposed to be law enforcement, that can sometimes be deadly with us. If I'm traveling, and thank God I don't have to travel anytime soon, and I see this and I juxtapose that to what happened in Minnesota, then I juxtapose that to what has happened historically in LA, New York, Chicago, right? I don't feel safe in this moment. So for Black people, let's remember we've been here not just as a way to say, look, we know what's going to happen, but as a reminder of what we might have to do moving forward. Because as we can see, the mindset of those like Trump who are implementing these policies hasn't changed much since this has been implemented historically.
I want to follow up on your raising the statue of Christopher Columbus. And for our viewers and listeners who are less familiar, CNN is now reporting that the statue of Christopher Columbus was installed on the White House grounds. Yes, a statue of Christopher Columbus has been erected outside of an ornate federal office building on the White House grounds, the latest sign, of course, of the Trump administration's efforts to reshape cultural and historical representations across the nation's capital. The installation of the statue reportedly, it's a replica of one that was toppled in Baltimore during the racial justice protests in 2020. It occurred over the weekend, and it's outside the Eisenhower Executive Office building. I, walk past that building often when I'm on the White House grounds, and it's a very powerful signal that this a replica of a statue that was toppled in Baltimore during racial justice protests in 2020 has found its way to the White House grounds. And so, I want to, again, flashing forward to this moment, let's talk about how the growing job description of ICE agents, the growing list of assignments for ICE agents across the country, how that alone is also reshaping our culture. Isn't it desensitizing us to what living under militarization, what that feels like, what that looks like day to day?
Oh, of course. And this is a hallmark of a tyrannical lunatic, right? This is like, ignore what we see, ignore the data, ignore the economic issues we're in that are going to presumably get worse with this administration. Ignore what your eyes are showing you, ignore what you feel, and tell them that no, the real threat is them still. They can always hark back to that. That is what they do. That is what a lot of presidents and politicians have done. As they continue to profit off this, is no, that person next to you, your neighbor, that person across town is the real enemy. And this is, to me, we're way beyond dog whistle territory. This is referee whistle territory. This is the bad officiating we've seen in some games over the weekend with the tournament, right? This ain't nobody he ain't trying to be covert about it anymore, man. This is just like, look, we in the midst of this, besides the fact that he's redesigning the West Wing and everything, it's like, let me put a statue here of somebody we know. But I want people who are listening to also understand this. We just got finished with St. Patrick's Day, right? Then we also understand what Columbus represents as an Italian American. These are two groups of Europeans who historically were not accepted into whiteness initially. And that's not something that's often taught in school. We talk about Italians and Irish folks who face discrimination from Western Europeans rampantly, right? So if people can just for a second zoom out and see what that big picture looks like, it's the same thing happening again. And of course, statistically, we're talking as a whole, the people in these rural towns in many of these states that don't have a lot of black folks who by and large supported him, they are suffering right now. But again, the question is, will you care enough? And the idea in his mindset is, I can stir up dissension enough because I know you have been trained to align yourself with race as opposed to economics. And what I really truly mean with that is with a racist mindset above your economics. What we're seeing at the gas pump, I would imagine in the LA region and California in general, is just outrageous. And again, y'all, these are things that are preventable. Can you imagine trying to fly somewhere for a business trip right now, or flying somewhere for an emergency right now? This is all chaos that has been calculated intentionally.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And you would think that, when it comes to public safety, for example, that is an issue that whether you are a Democrat, Republican, Independent, Green Party, right? We all care about public safety. We all need energy prices to be reasonable, to keep costs as reasonable as possible. And so people are not just feeling the pain at the gas pump. People are feeling the pain and will soon feel the pain when it comes to buying a whole host of products, right? There's only so much shock that businesses can absorb without passing it on to consumers. And so really, it begs the question, for folks left, right, and center, right? How much pain are you willing to endure? How much pain are you willing to endure in your pocketbook? All because you're so, caught up in the racial boogeyman that this president and this administration seems to be successfully employing as a wedge when it comes to communities uniting around common sense, communities uniting around law and order. What happened to all the law and order people? What happened to them? Right? Exactly. The law and order people, they have turned in their law and order street cred for lawlessness street cred.
Yeah, and I think too, as you're talking, I'm reflecting on the fact that, for those of us listening in right now, I'm sure many can go back to a time when TSA didn't even exist at our airports, like when it seems so long ago. It seems so long ago.
It's so interesting. You say it seems so long ago. For the people who are streaming, I got more salt and pepper than Ernest. Ernest ain't got no salt. He got all pepper, but he remembers way back when. So please continue.
Right. Well, part of it is I know my audience, but also too, I was a teenager when it shifted. I remember a little bit, not that much, but a little bit.
Okay.
But I do recall that drastic shift though, in terms of the hysteria right around 9/11 and what happened after that. And when I began to teach too, I want people to really understand, because as an educator who taught social studies and I taught history and government and things like that, I in many ways serve as that bridge to what our kids can learn about the rights or supposed rights they have in this country. And for me too, that's a great honor because many of those kids aren't going to go to law school, right? Most kids aren't taking that route. So the information I give them in that moment could potentially stick with them for their life. So I used to grapple with this. I left the class in 2022, and even that 12-year period I was there, so many things shifted between me telling them what the Fourth Amendment said and what was actually true. I didn't even really know what to tell them at a certain point, right? Because you got to remember, too, I was in a classroom during his first term, too. And I was in a classroom with Stop and Frisk and Eric Gardner and all these things. And again, like, the thing that's very interesting about this, too, and I'm sure you can relate as well, is when we talk about this Fourth Amendment issue and what ICE regularly violates, that's always been at our front doors. Breonna Taylor, for example, that's always been in our neighborhoods. But the population that flies, when I'm flying for business trips and things like that, especially depending on the city, I can count how many of us are there. One hand, right? You know, it's very rare. So again, I think what we're starting to see is the white population, the so-called mainstream America is starting to really feel and see what Black America has told them about, not for years, decades, we're talking centuries at this point. And that is why I continue to maintain that the most important historical perspective you can learn is ours, because through that, you're going to get every angle and you're going to get a view of people who came here and were forced to be at the bottom and somehow found a way to this day to push through. But those folks don't want to get, like you said, they don't want to let go of the racial boogeyman. So they aren't able to get themselves out of that political positioning to just say, you know what, I do need to hear this person, right? And even beyond that, I maintain that the most important demographic beyond just learning about Black history is listening to Black women, because I got to say it again, but if we follow those voting patterns and trends that they have set, then we definitely wouldn't be here today.
That's right. I mean, it's even as you say that, I'm thinking of the work and witness of Fannie Lou Hamer and so many freedom fighters, that whose shoulders that we stand upon. When we come forward, we're digging even further into the headlines today. We know that ICE agents have deployed across the country to over a dozen of our nation's airports. And we have put this in its proper historical context. But when we come forward, don't you want to know where this idea even came from? I'll give you a hint. Trump's ICE airport idea came after a radio host pitched it on Fox News. We'll tell you all about that, and we'll get Brother Krim's reaction to that and more. You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show right here on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. ICE agents are being deployed to airports to assist TSA workers during the government shutdown.
These guys, they have families like anybody else. They're Americans like anybody else. It's terrible what's happened to them.
That's Black Republican Congressman Byron Donalds, who blames Democrats for the standoff, saying they're playing politics by holding up funding for the Department of Homeland Security over immigration policy. Former President Barack Obama is praising former FBI Director Robert Mueller following his death at 86. President Trump reacted by saying he was, quote, glad, end quote, Mueller was dead, while Obama called him one of the finest directors in FBI history. And singer Brandy will receive a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame on March 30th with Issa Rae and Babyface set to speak. Brandy is known for her hit The Boy Is Mine with Monica, which topped the charts for 13 weeks, along with her roles in Moesha and Cinderella. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Visit Baja Fresh on Thursday, April 2nd for National Burrito Day. Grab a Baja Burrito with chicken for just $5. Fresh ingredients, bold flavor, one amazing deal. Available in-store only on April 2nd, so don't miss it. Eat well, live fresh at Baja Fresh. Valid at participating locations.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey guys, do you want male performance in the bedroom and do you want it now? Get it in 47 seconds or less. For the first time, you can have instant male enhancement. Introducing Knox 47, the topical male enhancement that works in 47 seconds or less. Satisfaction guaranteed. Finally, after years of scientific research, our proprietary formula will allow you to perform in the bedroom like never before. Just imagine that little blue pill on steroids. No reason to settle and wait when you can get instant performance now. Forget about pills and potions that make you wait hours or up to 30 days to work. That's yesterday's news. Knox 47 is brand new. The hottest thing for men. And you don't need a prescription. Call now and get your free supply for a limited time.
To find out how to get Knox 47 for free, call now. 800-677-1453. That's 800-677-1453. Free bottles for limited time. Call 800-677-1453. That's 800-677-1453.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
My name is Tyrone Owens, and this is my home for 23 years that burned in the fire. Me and my wife, Charlene, we had this whole yard decorated every year.
This was the house that sparkled throughout the entire neighborhood on all the holidays. It's a community that will never be the same due to the negligence of the utility company. So I am pretty upset about that.
We were nowhere near being able to rebuild with our insurance. It's going to cost $1 million to put your house back up.
I want to get back to that point where we were before the fire. I'm starting to get emotional, but I'll work through it. LA Fire Justice has been wonderful for us. They're just caring people. We have all faith in them.
Big ups to LA Fire Justice, who's given us hope to rebuild 100%.
Advertisement. Douglas Foster, 221 East Walnut Street, Suite 100, Pasadena, California, 91101 is the attorney responsible for this ad.
LA Fire Justice is proud to sponsor Conversation Live, Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. So who's really paying the price? Scores of people dead and counting. Over 9,000 homes burned to the ground. Entire neighborhoods in Altadena gone. The Altadena Eaton Canyon fire is one of the deadliest fires in California history. And Edison's own CEO told investors the company has not identified any other possible source of ignition. In other words, they started it. So what does the man at the top walk away with? Pedro Pizarro took home $16.6 million in cash, stock, and other compensation last year, a 20% raise from the year before. Let that sink in for a moment. A 20% raise, while families in Altadena are still sifting through the ash. Now, Edison will tell you they cut executive bonuses by 40%. Sounds like accountability, right? Wrong. 6 senior executives lost an estimated $2 million in bonuses. On the very same day, the company reported $4.5 billion in profit for 2025. $2 million out of $4.5 billion. That math ain't mathing. That's not a penalty. That's a rounding error. And here's the part that should really make your blood boil. Over $1.6 billion in damages from a previous fire that SCE equipment started is now being covered not by the company, but by SCE customers just like you and me through rate hikes. The victims of utility failures are being asked to pay for the utility's failures. Sickening, shameful, disgraceful, reprehensible. You choose your own word. The people lost everything. The CEO got a raise. The company posted record profits. and your electricity bill is going up. As you well know, KBLA Talk 1580 has been out front and unapologetic about demanding accountability for SoCal Edison. But this is far from accountability. This is the system working exactly as it was designed, just not for you. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen.
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, your KBLA host of A More Perfect Union and White House correspondent, sitting in for our friend and our brother, Jesse Jackson Jr. I am here not by myself. I'm here in good company. Don't you worry. Ernest Krem III joins me. I should say Emmy-nominated producer Ernest Krem III. You know, if I was an Emmy-nominated somebody, I might add to my tattoo.
That's a good idea.
I might do that. But that's not it. He's also a Malcolm X and Dr. Betty Shabazz Vanguard Award winner. He's a public educator. We love our teachers here. And a modern day griot. I love the work that you do as CEO of Krem's Cultural Consulting, where you help schools and organizations bridge those cultural divides through teaching overlooked historical narratives. And how's this narrative for you? CNN is reporting that this crazy idea to have ICE on patrol at airports. Well, now we know where this idea may have come from. CNN is reporting that Linda from Arizona, a caller on a conservative talk radio show, might deserve the credit or the blame for ICE agents deploying to airports across the United States today. The caller said on the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton show, "I think I have a solution to the TSA problem." That's what she said. We need to bring in ICE agents. And co-host Clay Travis said it's kind of a brilliant idea. And that exchange aired on radio on Friday afternoon. President Trump announced his vision for ICE agents at airports. Guess when? By Saturday afternoon. And so you may wonder, well, what happened? What happened in between? You know, Travis appeared on one of Trump's favorite Fox News shows and personally pitched the idea. Now, the White House hasn't commented on whether Trump did, in fact, hear the TV segment and act accordingly, but Trump has a decades-long track record of watching Fox and posting his reactions on social media. What do you make of this? What do you make of the fact that one of the most important jobs on the planet as president of the United States, he over here getting the idea to deploy ICE agents to airports by Linda from Arizona on conservative talk radio?
It's absolutely bizarre, brother. But unfortunately, it checks. You know, it's bizarre and it sounds right. You know, like the bar has been lowered so much for what is should be the most important position in our country. Like, you think about what we have come from in the past 10 years or so to this, with the president, with the academic excellence, you know, of an Obama, and you know what he had to go through, the rigor academically, and now we have someone like this who is making political decisions that impact so many lives based on conservative talk radio shows like Fox, networks like Fox News, probably in comment sections online. We can't throw that out there either, right? And on Truth Social, I'm sure they're getting, and we can't just give him all the credit, right? Got a whole team of people, because when he's posting something, it's somebody doing what he's dictating to them. It's a whole team of folks, and they're all talking about these ideas, and he's just the face of it that approves it. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's insane. But I also want to remind people that this is accurate for that demographic and that political leaning. I want to remind folks of some recent history. If you all remember Ralph Yarl, 16-year-old black young man in 2023 in Kansas City, Missouri, went to the wrong home and was shot, nearly killed by a white man at the time who was in his 80s.
Shot in the head. Shot in the head,
nearly killed. The suspect was identified as 84-year-old Andrew Daniel Lester. Now, this was almost 3 years ago. I'm bringing this up because I recall reading an article back then when a relative of Andrew Daniel Lester said all he does is sit in the house and watch conservative talk radio. I live in the Chicago area, not too far from where a young Palestinian child was killed, almost 3 years ago by the landowner who owned the apartment. After the initial attacks by Hamas in October of 2023, he had Palestinian families residing there. He went in the home, shot and killed the boy. And I recall reading an article, and they talked about how when he first met the family, everything was cool. But over the last few years or so, and this was a very young child, so I don't want to misrepresent his age, but I do know he was elementary age. They said he would sit in the house all day and watch Fox News. Like, this type of toxic media has implications. When we think about what he's doing to the media now, and then we juxtapose that to the media that he wants his followers, right, to watch and what he engages in as well, this is what we look at. To me, this is state media. When I would teach about the limitations of the First Amendment, right, or just the limitations of anything in our Constitution, or just wanted to juxtapose what we have here as freedoms and liberties to other countries, I would often show documentaries of North Korea and the state media, the state radio, the intercoms in the home, and the television shows and things like that they had, right? And if I was in a class today, Lord willing, we get through this not relatively unscathed, right? We're dealing with a lot right now. But if I was in a class after this term, I could show clips of what Trump is doing, and it would fit that same mold. This is immensely disturbing, but unfortunately, brother, it's accurate to who we've had in office.
I mean, I double click on all of that. And I really appreciate you taking the time to really connect the dots, because, unfortunately, the news has moved on from the Ralph Yarl story, that devastating story. On one hand, that it happened, but the resilience of Ralph Yarl and his family, the fact that he actually survived that gunshot to the head, and hasn't been, the same. Who would be, after that, but he is moving on with his life. But, again, I appreciate you connecting the dots, because, the fact of the matter is, if we were talking about what you just laid out in a lot of other countries across the country, I think we would use the term radicalized. And I don't think we talk about it in those terms here in the United States. And if we do, we don't talk about it that way nearly enough. But, it is worth noting examples of how folks have gotten radicalized, not just listening to Fox News, but being in the heart of the conservative media ecosystem. We're going to talk more about that when we come forward. Plus, Trump rejects the off-ramp to fund the Department of Homeland Security as airport delays worsen. We're going to talk about the politics on Capitol Hill of what is afoot. You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
say time flies when you're having fun. The founding members cohort is now officially over. Hard to believe. It's been a joy sharing what I've discovered after nearly 40 years of conversations with presidents, cultural icons, and game changers in every field of human endeavor. If you missed the first cohort, the good news is that we're already planning the next one. Now, the seats will be limited, and those on our waiting list will receive exclusive early access and special discounts not available to the general public. So, if you are ready to transform the way you connect, lead, and build trust, do not hesitate. Go to TavishTalks.com and join the waiting list today. That's TavishTalks.com. The next cohort is coming. Make sure you are in the room. I'm Tavish Smiley, and I hope to see you there.
You are the architect of your own legacy, but you don't have to build it alone. I'm Lisanne Basquiat, a board-certified NLP expert and legacy healing strategist. I've built the Shaping Freedom platform to give you the exact tools you need to evolve. From my signature podcast and Lounging with Lisanne meditations to our intentional candles and journals. Stop living on autopilot. Visit shapingfreedom.com to access the teachings and tools you deserve for you and your family. Your evolution begins at shapingfreedom.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The BLM Center for Black Power is a hub for Black activism in the city of Los Angeles, a standalone nonprofit affiliated with Black Lives Matter LA. The venue is home to live events, meetings, and organizing drives for Black-led community-based organizations. It is also the base of operations for Black Lives Matter LA. Built on what used to be a nuisance property owned by an arms dealer, the BLM Center for Black Power is in the heart of Leimert Park and has opened its doors to everything from youth organizers to toy drives to film screenings and community town hall meetings. To make a donation or make a request, please visit blmla.org. That's blmla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right.
Y'all gotta try that Febreze car.
Just right, just right, just right. Yeah. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistency, on low Febreze car clips right on your vent. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face when it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah. Breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la. Old-fashioned soul.
Where you eating that? Hi, I'm Greg Doolin, inviting you to a special celebration of Women's History Month. Join KBLA Talk 1580 for its annual symposium, The State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live from Doolin Soul Food on Crenshaw, Friday, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., moderated by Dominique DePrima. And yes, breakfast is just $15.80. Come get fed twice. Your stomach and your mind will thank you. We'll see you Friday morning, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. at Doolin Soul Food on Crenshaw for the State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me.
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm your guest host, Dr. Nicordelai Corte, the KBLA host of A More Perfect Union and White House correspondent, filling in for Jesse Jackson Jr. I'm joined with Ernest Krim III, Emmy-nominated producer, public educator, and CEO of Krim's Cultural Consulting, where he's bridging cultural divides through teaching overlooked historical narratives. Before the break, we were talking about, and you so beautifully made the connection between, where the origin story of Trump's idea to deploy ICE agents to airports across the country, and where that came from. It came from a conservative talk show. And then it made its way on to Fox News, where the president's known to watch a lot of Fox News. And you made the connection between how Fox News may have influenced this president on this matter that is creating confusion in our nation's airports, and the same kind of confusion, the same kind of radicalization, quite frankly, that other frequent Fox News viewers have cited as a part of why they decided to, in some cases, create harm. You cited the case of Ralph Yarl, who was shot in the head by an 84-year-old who nearly killed him, but didn't. And that's a more extreme example, but radicalization can manifest in lots of different ways, no?
Oh, for sure. You made me think as well of the fact that we live in America in very segregated spaces, which is by design, right? We know that, of course, cultural preservation is a good thing. To be able to go through different spaces in LA, Chicago, New York, and to be able to get a taste and view of what it was like, or what it's like for this culture, whether it be the cuisine or the museums and so on and so forth. But we're talking a strategic type of segregation, apartheid, that was encoded in this country to be this way, particularly for what we see now, to divide and conquer. It's not just through the lens of cultural preservation, it's divide and conquer. I mean, if I can keep them away from each other and then feed them a narrative of that group that continues to draw a wedge, then I can continue to do the work that I'm doing to profit off of their disarray. I think to what Malcolm X once said, the media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and to make the guilty innocent. Let's keep in mind that, and this is something we should always remember, the film that is regarded as the first major blockbuster is Birth of a Nation. I've said this before, and I think we have to make sure we keep this in mind, especially in this season. And that was regarded as the most racist film, right? And it put forth so many stereotypes of Black people that, of course, were inaccurate. But for those who live separate from Black folks in segregated towns, sundown towns, right? Mm-hmm. As a matter of law, they believed it to be true. And that was the foundation for the rise of the Klan again. And we're talking roughly 110 years ago. And then the Klan is rising in the 1920s. Like, are we seeing any similarities, y'all? We go back 100 years before that and remember that the foundation for Birth of a Nation was set by actual plays, minstrel shows, which were the #1 form of entertainment in this country. You mean to tell me that the main way that your group, your demographic has been entertained is by digesting fictitious representations of us? It makes me think back to what James Baldwin once said, like, what are you without this creation of the N-word? There has to be something else that amuses you. But that's the thing that we see that continues in cycles to now influence a person who's unfortunately the most powerful person in this country with regards to the decisions he can make that impact us.
Cruising from one end of Pennsylvania Avenue to the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue, we know that Trump has rejected this off-ramp to fund the Department of Homeland Security as we see airport delays worsen. We know that NBC News is reporting that on Sunday, Senate Majority Leader John Thune, he discussed an off-ramp with President Trump to reopen TSA and end the long lines and the delays at the airport. This would have obviously meant that ICE agents wouldn't have been needed in the first place to be deployed. They're not needed, but his rationale for sending the ICE agents would have fallen apart. It was also reported by NBC News that this proposal would fund all the departments of Homeland Security except for ICE, which Democrats have refused to support without new limitations on immigration enforcement operations. The White House aides initially conveyed the idea to Trump, and after that briefing, Thune spoke with the president, according to sources, and Senator Thune discussed the idea with Republicans on Capitol Hill. The second source said it's seen by numerous Republicans as a viable path for breaking the logjam, but the president wasn't with it. He wasn't with it. And so let's talk about the politics of this in our remaining minutes. Any predictions, on what Senate Republicans will do to get out of this logjam? I want to remind our streamers and our listeners that Republicans control the White House, they control the Senate, and they control the House of Representatives.
I think back to some of the town hall meetings I've seen recently with constituents in Republican counties, and just how visibly and understandably so frustrated they've been. I think that if they don't make a decision soon, we're going to see a lot of that coming to their local offices and local meetings and things like that, because I always bring up this example of being a teacher, and when you have students who are hangry in class and they can't pay attention, right? They want to do the work, but before you teach the child, you have to check in with them. How are you emotionally, socially? Have you eaten today, especially when you have that first class? And we're in a position now where that is actually happening to people across the country. This is not just for Black folks, Latinos. Everybody's dealing with this right now. And I also want to elevate the TSA workers who haven't been paid in more than a month. And the footage I've seen, and pilots having to come together to donate. And I've seen people doing food drives for TSA agents who have nothing to do with this, who are just trying to do their job. People who some of which have been living check to check, who have not been receiving checks, some of whom have still been going to work. A lot of folks haven't been going, but some have still been showing up. So we are at a point right now, and this guy's only been in office for a year and 2 months, where it feels like we are dealing with something catastrophic, and something has to give. Something, because the thing is, while this is happening, the politicians in power, they don't feel the ramifications of this. We, the people, do. Has to be a call for unity at some point.
There has to be. When we come forward, we're switching gears in our next hour. I want to thank Ernest Krim III for joining us here on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. You take good care, brother. And I want to remind everybody to check him out on Substack. If you're not following him on Substack, I'm over here trying to read it. It says Krim's Class. Go to Krim's Class on Substack and sign up. You are listening to and streaming a more perfect the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. ICE agents are being deployed to airports to assist TSA workers during the government shutdown.
These guys, they got families like anybody else. They're Americans like anybody else. It's terrible what's happened to them.
That's Black Republican Congressman Byron Donalds, who blames Democrats for the standoff, saying they're playing politics by holding up funding for the Department of Homeland Security over immigration policy. Former President Barack Obama is praising former FBI Director Robert Mueller following his death at 86. President Trump reacted by saying he was, quote, glad, end quote, Mueller was dead, while Obama called him one of the finest directors in FBI history. And singer Brandy will receive a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame on March 30th, with Issa Rae and Babyface set to speak. Brandy is known for her hit The Boy Is Mine with Monica, which topped the charts for 13 weeks, along with her roles in Moesha and Cinderella. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Visit Baja Fresh on Thursday, April 2nd for National Burrito Day. Grab a Baja Burrito with chicken for just $5. Fresh ingredients, bold flavor, one amazing deal. Available in-store only on April 2nd, so don't miss it. Eat well, live fresh at Baja Fresh. Valid at participating locations.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The season is over for the UCLA men's basketball team. They lost to UConn Sunday night in the second round of the NCAA tournament. UConn beat the Bruins 73-57. The Bruins finished the season at 24-12. There will be a new national champion in the men's tournament. Florida, the defending national champion, was upset Sunday by Iowa 73-72. Iowa is one of 6 Big Ten teams advancing to the Sweet 16. In the NCAA women's tournament, UCLA and USC have second-round games tonight. USC is at South Carolina, 5 p.m. tip-off on ESPN. UCLA is at home against Oklahoma State, 7 p.m. tip on ESPN. UCLA is going for their 27th straight win. The Lakers and Clippers are on the court tonight. The Lakers are at Detroit. The Lakers are trying to extend their winning streak to 10. The Clippers are at home against Milwaukee. A win puts the Clippers back at 500. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Old-fashioned soul. Where you eating at? Hi, I'm Greg Doolin, inviting you to a special celebration of Women's History Month. Join KBLA Talk 1580 for its annual symposium, The State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live from Doolin Soul Food on Crenshaw, Friday, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., moderated by Dominique DePrima. And yes, breakfast is just $15.80. Come get fed twice. Your stomach and your mind will thank you. We'll see you Friday morning, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. at Doolin Soul Food on Crenshaw for the State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Junior Show. The Jesse Jackson Junior Show. The Jesse Jackson Junior Show. The Jesse Jackson Junior Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA. Talk 1580, download the app.
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I am your guest host, Dr. Nicordelai Corte. You can normally find me here on KBLA Talk 1580. You can find me here from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific. But right now, I'm right here filling in for our friend and our brother, the Jesse Jackson Jr. I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Be sure to follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nicordelai. Just type in Dr. Niq, DRNIIQ, and there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to follow KBLA on the X platform, and on Instagram at KBLA 1580. And be sure to subscribe to our KBLA YouTube channel. That way you don't just get to hear us, but you get to watch us in action. And you even get to get in the YouTube group chat to sound off and make your voices heard as well. I am really delighted this hour to be talking to an incredible faith leader who has done some extraordinary work, is still continuing to do extraordinary work. I'm talking about Reverend Teresa Horde Owens. She's the general minister and president of the Christian Church, Disciples of Christ, right here in the United States and Canada. She's an author and advocate for the church living out its calling, and she's the first person of color and the second woman to lead the denomination since her election in 2017. Reverend Horde Owens' ministry actively reflects the disciples' priority of being an anti-racist church, being a movement for wholeness, welcoming all to the Lord's table as God has welcomed us. And in keeping with the disciples' historic commitment to Christian unity, she serves in leadership at the National Council of Churches as the treasurer of the governing board and a member of the World Council of Churches Central Committee. Welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, Reverend Terry.
Good to be with you, Dr. Corte. It's nice to meet you. I'm a fan.
Oh, it's so nice to meet you. I'm a fan of your work and your witness. These are really challenging times, not just for our nation, but for the world. We wake up, many of us, every morning to the latest headlines that, in some cases, you pinch yourself because you can't believe what you're reading. You can't believe what you're seeing. And then there are times when you pinch yourself because it feels like deja vu, because you just read something similar or you just watched something similar not long ago. I want to start with your spiritual practice. What is your daily practice to ground you? You can't be as committed to the work and witness that you are committed to without being grounded yourself. How are you grounding yourself these days?
I'm a firm believer in a spiritual practice. You may call it prayer, you may call it meditation, you may call just being still and quiet and getting in touch with whatever you call the holy. But I do what's called centering prayer, where you're just quiet and try to get things out of your head and really allow God to speak to you. But I'm also a firm believer in the study of the sacred text for Christians, which is the Bible, and other traditions have their own sacred texts. But I think it's important to be grounded in whatever sacred text you're in, not dogmatically, not that somebody's beating you over the head with it or forcing a particular interpretation on you. Our particular tradition believes we all have sort of power by the Spirit to come to God's truth ourselves. And so I don't think we can do a lot of good in the world without being people of faith, without being Christian. But if we're going to be Christian, we need to understand what grounds us and really better understand how revolutionary this man that we follow, Jesus, actually was. So those are two things. Just spending quiet time by myself, making sure I feed myself positive things, read positive things, listen to positive music, and then getting rest. I think rest is a spiritual practice. Our dear sister, Tricia Hersey, in her book, Rest is Resistance, reminds us that we have to rest. And my fellow faith leaders, we've been intentional about encouraging each other to get rest, particularly in these days and times where, as you said, every single day, it seems like something new is coming at us. So you have to take care of yourself personally, physically, and spiritually as well.
When we come forward, Reverend Terry, I want to get your thoughts on a headline that's trending within the past hour from The Hill. They're reporting that President Trump has told lawmakers, don't worry about Easter. Don't you do it. Don't worry about Easter, as a way to force a vote on the Department of Homeland Security and the SAVE Act. We'll tell you all about it, and we'll get Reverend Terry's reaction to it when we come forward. You're listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm your guest host, Dr. Nicordelai Corte.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
This March, we're turning up the volume on the women who changed everything. KBLA Talk 1580 is proud to celebrate Women's History Month, honoring the trailblazers, truth tellers, and game changers who shaped our world, our culture, and our community. From the freedom fighters to the firsts, from the boardroom to the front lines, from the unsung to the unforgettable, all month long, we're celebrating the stories, the voices, and the conversations that remind us that women, Black women, have always led the way. Don't miss a moment. This is our moment. This is our story. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580, Los Angeles' home for the conversations that matter.
I'm your girl, you're my girl, we're your girls. Won't you know that we love you? Febreze.
New Febreze Air Mist has 50% more odor fighters and up to 30% more fragrance than the old formula. So now you can take on 100% more stinky odors, like sweaty gym bags, greasy cooking smells, and the after effects of the dog rolling around in something. Just spray, and new Febreze Air instantly restores just clean freshness. Smell you later, odor.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Hey guys, do you want male performance in the bedroom and do you want it now? Get it in 47 seconds or less. For the first time, you can have instant male enhancement. Introducing Nox 47, the topical male enhancement that works in 47 seconds or less. Satisfaction guaranteed. Finally, after years of scientific research, our proprietary formula will allow you to perform in the bedroom like never before. Just imagine that little blue pill on steroids. No reason to settle and wait when you can get instant performance now. Forget about pills and potions that make you wait hours or up to 30 days to work. That's yesterday's news. Nox 47 is brand new. The hottest thing for men. And you don't need a prescription. Call now and get your free supply for a limited time.
To find out how to get Nox 47 for free, call now. 800-677-1453. That's 800-677-1453. Free bottles for limited time. Call 800-677-1453. That's 800-677-1453.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen.
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm your guest host, Dr. Nicordelai Corte, reporting for duty as our friend and our brother is away. And I'm delighted to be joined this hour with Reverend Terry. Reverend Terry, she is the general minister and president of the Christian Church, Disciples of Christ, here in the United States and Canada. She's an author and advocate. And I think you should check out the new season of her podcast called The Faith Not to Fall. The Faith Not to Fall. You should check out that podcast, which is available on Spotify, Apple, everywhere you can get your podcast. And Reverend Terry, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Corte. Good to be with you today.
It's great to be with you. It's great to unpack some of these headlines that are creating headaches for so many of our fellow Americans and people of conscience around the world. Within the hour, The Hill is reporting that President Trump told Republican lawmakers today not to, quote, worry about Easter in order to stay in Washington to vote on a bill that ties the Department of Homeland Security's funding with voter identification requirements in the SAVE Act. President Trump said that he's, quote, requesting that the Republican senators do that immediately, and joked that lawmakers shouldn't go home for what is slated to be a 2-week recess starting by the end of the week, saying, quotes, "You don't have to take a fast vote. Don't worry about Easter going home. In fact, make this one for Jesus." That's what he said while hosting a roundtable in Memphis. Reverend Terry, what's your reaction?
Well, we can't air my actual reaction, I don't think. But first of all, this I'll say this: if he is trying to get people's dander up, so to speak, about the idea that, oh my goodness, I would miss Easter. You know, Jesus in a couple of different places is quoted by healing people and harvesting food on the Sabbath day when they weren't supposed to do any work. So I think if it comes to being sure that we can get some kind of situation where the whole policy around ICE's inhumanity is dealt with, if we can get votes to ensure that that people will eat, that there will be good policy passed, if we need to take the time to fight against this SAVE Act, which will certainly suppress the vote against people of color, the poor and marginalized, those who are less engaged in the system already. I think Jesus will be quite all right if they stayed in DC for Easter. I resent quite actually the use of thinking that the ritual of the holiday is more important than doing the work that we're called to do. That's not the Christianity that I understand. It's about getting the work done. And so I would encourage my siblings in the Democratic Party. That's the party in which I have my membership. I would encourage in the group that I agree most with at this point in time, I would encourage them to stand fast and stand their ground and get the work done. Jesus knows what you're doing. We don't have to be home in churches on Easter just to make a statement. I'm quite often not in church on Sunday because I'm traveling. I preach different places throughout the week. My son tells me all the time, "Mom, I think God's good with you. I think you're doing the work." Our attention to certain rituals, while they are so important, and Easter is the highest holy day on the Christian calendar for sure, but to use that as a threat to keep us from doing the right thing, I think is heretical. Actually, it's against the very thing that Jesus would care most about, and that's the people, not about the law.
Speaking of threats, again reported by The Hill, the president previously encouraged tying the two bills together in a Truth Social post that he put up late Sunday, saying that he doesn't think any deal should be made with, quote, "the crazy, country-destroying, radical left Democrats unless and until they vote with Republicans to pass the Save America Act." He went on to write that it is far more important than anything else we're doing in the Senate. And that includes giving these same terrible people, the Dems, who are to blame for this mess, a $5 billion cut to ICE funding, a deal which, even when disguised as something else, is unacceptable to me and the American people, unless it includes their approval of voter ID with picture, citizenship to vote, no mail-in voting with exceptions, all paper ballots, no men and women's sports, and no transgender mutilization of our precious children. That's what the president put up in a social media post. There seems to be so much of this that is at odds with the work and witness of so many civil rights leaders, so many voting rights leaders, so many ministers, some of which who have shed blood over many years in order to protect and preserve our right to vote. Talk to me about the historical context of this post. Yes, this president posted this just yesterday, but this flies in the face of a historical context that we must not forget.
Well, the historical context that has paved the way for you and for me and for my son. I've got a 3-year-old grandson, and I'm very concerned about his grandma is having to fight for the same things that her grandparents were fighting for, right, in the 50s and 60s. So the legacy of slavery, chattel slavery in the U.S. was just unlike any form of history of slavery in the history of humankind. The slow but steady gains that our ancestors made through the shedding of blood, giving up their life, the advocacy, the work. I'm a child of the 60s. I was a little girl when Dr. King was killed. I remember my grandfather as a Baptist minister leading the local NAACP in my hometown of Terre Haute, Indiana, meeting in the church basement, working to desegregate public facilities in our small town, being on Nixon's enemies list. He and my father were very proud that they were on Nixon's enemies list. So I have watched, as you have watched, people before you make these sacrifices. There were people who literally died trying to register to vote or trying to work to register other people to vote. To then take the idea of faith or Christianity and make something like voter ID more important than the protection of human lives. The reason that so many of us are in favor of defunding so much of ICE is that they have killed countless people. They are arresting not criminals. They are arresting whoever comes across their path. They are doing racial profiling. They are attacking and hurting people in the streets. They are spreading fear and chaos. They are trying to intimidate people all over the place. We have congregations from New York to California and Florida, places where ICE has tried to intervene and be on church property and come into church buildings, trying to terrify people. But we have to understand that not only has our country, you talk about a more perfect union, we're not there yet, but we still, Black people have believed in the promise of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence more than any other people, more than any immigrant people, because it was never fully given to us. Black women like myself being the last people to achieve even some of those final fruits. So that history of where the country has been, to see one individual try to turn it around, and it's post-Reconstruction, right? What happened with the Klan? People became nervous. This whole fear of, Ibram Kendi has a new book out about replacement theory and how, you may know of Dr. Francis Cressing, who wrote the book on the ISIS papers, where she talked about the psychology of the white majority and its concern about people of color. That's another thread of history that we have to bring into this, because what Trump is doing is playing into that fear of white folks that somehow they are getting the raw end of the deal. And yet the response, the answer to people who claim to be Christian is that you're going to deny life, liberty, and what we would call the pursuit of happiness, food, jobs, healthcare. You're going to deny that to other people because of your own psychosis. That's not, it's not Christian, it's not Muslim, it's not Jewish, it's not Hindu, it's not Buddhist. There's no religious tradition that you could drape any of that with and call that right. So that idea that we've got to rally the people to go against anybody who doesn't look like me, because they will take what is mine. And this country was only for us. The placement of the Christopher Columbus statue in front of the Eisenhower building. How can you discover something that was already there? There were people. Iva Van Sertima wrote this wonderful book. They came before Columbus, saying there were people from the continent, the African continent, who made their way to the Americas before the Europeans did. So we're ignorant of history, number one, but let us not be confused that we've seen this before. in America's legacy, where we are trying to turn things around because of this fragility, this white fragility that seeks to deprive other people of everything that America says it stands for, and seeks to use is something that really is problematic for me and others, is the use of Christianity in this very nationalist enterprise to say that somehow this is part of Christianity. This is what Jesus wants. That is, as my grandfather would say, that's a lie from the very pit of hell. So we have to get the whole historical narrative clear. Yes, there's a history of civil rights, but there's also a history of the white majority trying to keep other people from participating in the very things that have always been held up as what America is all about. The very things that we claim Christianity is supposed to be about. So you can't claim to be Christian and then do the things that are quite the opposite of what Jesus would say or teach.
That's right. And whether we're talking about Jim Crow or apartheid, and so many examples in between of, a white minority trying to control the majority, trying to control the levers of power, trying to control government, trying to control the private sector, right? That is a big part of what we're seeing right now. Even when you look at the media consolidation. I was just reading about the mass layoffs from CBS Radio, and our hearts go out to our colleagues over at CBS Radio. They are the OG of OGs when it comes to radio broadcasting.
Yeah.
And to see that storied outlet, that legacy outlet, that institution seemingly gone overnight. There wasn't even an attempt to reimagine CBS radio in the modern era. And I believe, those cuts impact, I think, 700 stations across the country. Think about how many more news deserts there are going to be when they complete, the loss of the going away of CBS radio. That is a big deal when people can't trust the information that they are getting. Right. It's hard to set the record straight. Mm-hmm. So I just want to go back to just the point around media consolidation. My prediction is that unless there are folks on the left and even folks in the center that set their sights on this, that really lock in on this, we're going to see more conservative owners buy up the equipment that was used, the real estate that they had. They're going to buy up the intellectual property that is remaining. They're going to buy it up, and they're just going to strengthen the conservative echo chamber and ecosystem. When we come forward, I want to talk about how that conservative ecosystem, how that conservative echo chamber right now as we speak is firing up. Politico is reporting that no Department of Homeland Security talks are expected until Senator Mullen is confirmed as the next Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. We're going to unpack this and what it might mean for the reforms that we all believe are not just important, but mission critical.
Right.
When it comes to the Department of Homeland Security and particularly ICE. You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm your guest host, Dr. Nicordoli Corte, along with Reverend Terry Hord Owens.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump says Department of Homeland Security funding should be tied to the Save America Act, urging Republicans not to end the shutdown without including the voter ID measure.
The Democrats are fully to blame with the struggle, the great American public is going through at the airport.
Speaking in Memphis, Trump told lawmakers to push forward, saying, quote, do it for Jesus, end quote. ICE agents are now working alongside TSA at the world's busiest airport, Hartsfield-Jackson International, as long lines grow during the shutdown, with more agents calling out unpaid. Black Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens says the armed agents will only assist with crowd control. In Michigan, Governor Gretchen Whitmer has been named Woman of the Decade by the United Way for Southeastern Michigan. Black Detroit Mayor Mary Sheffield was honored as the 2026 Woman of Influence, while Black Family CEO Alice Thompson received the Lifetime Achievement Award. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Visit Baja Fresh on Thursday, April 2nd for National Burrito Day. Grab a Baja Burrito with chicken for just $5. Fresh ingredients, bold flavor, one amazing deal. Available in-store only on April 2nd, so don't miss it. Eat well, live fresh at Baja Fresh. Valid at participating locations.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, aka the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. So who's really paying the price? Scores of people dead and counting. Over 9,000 homes burned to the ground. Entire neighborhoods in Altadena gone. The Altadena Eaton Canyon fire is one of the deadliest fires in California history. And Edison's own CEO told investors the company has not identified any other possible source of ignition. In other words, they started it. So what does the man at the top walk away with? Pedro Pizarro took home $16.6 million in cash, stock, and other compensation last year, a 20% raise from the year before. Let that sink in for a moment. A 20% raise, while families in Altadena are still sifting through the ash. Now, Edison will tell you they cut executive bonuses by 40%. Sounds like accountability, right? Wrong. 6 senior executives lost an estimated $2 million in bonuses. On the very same day, the company reported $4.5 billion in profit for 2025. $2 million out of $4.5 billion. That math ain't mathing. That's not a penalty. That's a rounding error. And here's the part that should really make your blood boil. Over $1.6 billion in damages from a previous fire that SCE Equipment started is now being covered not by the company, but by SCE customers just like you and me through rate hikes. The victims of utility failures are being asked to pay for the utility's failures. Sickening, shameful, disgraceful, reprehensible. You choose your own word. The people lost everything. The CEO got a raise. The company posted record profits. And your electricity bill is going up. As you well know, KBLA Talk 1580 has been out front and unapologetic about demanding accountability for SoCal Edison. But this is far from accountability. This is the system working exactly as it was designed, just not for you. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me.
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm your guest host, Dr. Nicordelai Corte, sitting in for our friend and our brother who is away. I am really enjoying this conversation with Reverend Terry Hoard Owen. She's the general minister and president of the Christian Church, Disciples of Christ, right here in the United States and in Canada. She's an author. She's an advocate for the church living out its calling. And we're so glad to have you here, Reverend Terry.
Thank you, Dr. Corte. I'm enjoying the conversation too.
Yeah. Listen, before the break, I was sharing some news as reported by the folks over at Politico. The White House apparently is holding off on further Department of Homeland Security funding negotiations until the Senate confirms Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin to lead the agency. Democrats have previously canceled meetings, and they've given Mullin, he's given that Mullin is close to his confirmation. Aides to the president believe that it's better to wait so he can be full and active participating in funding talks from the Department of Homeland Security. Let me just say that I think one of the most troubling things I heard during Senator Mullin's confirmation hearings, he was asked about the 2020 elections, and he did not say that he believed the elections were fair. He in fact gave safe harbor to the election denialism that is motivating and animating conservatives across the country around the SAVE Act. I think that's problematic, number one. Number two, he would not say that he would not deploy ICE agents to polling sites across the country. And, I'm lifting this up because, I think we all have to be clear-eyed about what is happening. We have to be clear-eyed about what this administration may be planning to do or aspiring to do. We have to be clear-eyed about how so much of this is antithetical to the Constitution for a party that used to pride itself on being a law and order party.
Yeah.
I don't even think this party watches Law and Order SVU. What say you, Reverend Terry?
I don't think they do either, Dr. Corte. But I think just the very notion, first of all, I mean, I agree with the Senator Mullin is just problematic on so many different levels. He not only would not take a stand against the lies that have been told, and that's always a sign that in this administration, if you want to hold your job, you basically have to go along with this president and all of his lies, deceit, and autocracy, and you can't really have a mind of your own. I know a lot of people in Oklahoma. I'll just say that it's a state where we have lots of members of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ, and we are an 80% white denomination, about 10% Black, 6-7% Hispanic, and 2 to 3% Asian Pacific Island. So I have a lot of folks that I know well in Oklahoma who do not think highly of Senator Mullin, and even question the strength of his own, of his own intellect, let alone his integrity at this point. I don't see how you can, if you really care about what's happening with DHS, you have to want to stand for ensuring that the policy changes, in addition to the funding cuts for ICE, have to be addressed, because without that, we're going to return to the vigilante kind of quote unquote justice in Customs and Border Patrol that we've seen out of ICE. There's too much data to indicate that they have not been operating within the guise of the law. They've not been operating under appropriate training for doing, they're not trained to be a local law enforcement. They're not trained to do that work. They've been offering all kinds of incentives to get people to sign up to work for them. You've got former January 6 folks who were convicted.
Proud Boys, Oath Keepers.
Yeah. You're not doing any kind of background check. So the whole thing is circumspect. This is how the patty rollers were developed in times of Africans being enslaved in the United States. Poor people who had no other options. A force was created to get that property back and to operate in that way with no regard for their humanity. Secondly, the data tells us that there have been statistically a very small, less than even a tenth of a percent of voters who voted who shouldn't have voted, and those ballots were discounted. There's no data to prove that we have this widespread fraudulent voting problem. And so now what Trump has done with rhetoric like this is he's empowered the sheriff in California who's running for governor to just seize ballots because he thinks there may be a problem with counting the ballots. So we're not paying attention to federal law. We're not paying attention to state or local law. And it is the states that the Constitution gives the responsibility to manage voting for all of the offices, state, local, and federal. It is the states who manage their voting population, who do that work on behalf of this federation of states that we have. So it's ignorance, and it's illegality, and it is just simply emboldened people to run. And that's what autocratic governments do. That's what autocratic leaders do. Once they create this sense that, oh, it's okay for you to just ignore the law, to just ignore even the norms of humanity, then you can just go right ahead and do whatever the heck you want to do. He's created that environment. And people say, well, it wasn't just Trump that was there. But no, he's made it publicly okay, right? He's legitimized it for a certain group of people and a certain group of public officials that they can violate this. And when you then have people in the Congress who are abdicating their own responsibility for oversight and have been more concerned about their seat in Congress than they have about doing what's right by the American people, it's just become one nightmare after another.
One nightmare after another, indeed. I mean, as you were talking, I couldn't help but, just go back to the idea that you're right. ICE is not trained in policing, nor are they trained in airport security, yes. Right? And I would even take it a step further. I remember back in 2020 when folks on Capitol Hill were working around the clock to pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. And you might remember that one of the components of that bill was around qualified immunity. That is the shield that prevents police officers from being sued when they violate folks' civil rights. Well, this isn't about just willy-nilly. The cop roughed me up and now I'm suing you. No, this is when it's found that police have violated folks' civil rights. Right? They lose that protective shield. And I keep going back to how the world, the state of this country and the lawlessness that we are seeing among folks that are a part of ICE. I keep going back to how this moment might be a little bit different, maybe not wholesale different, but a little bit different. If we had passed that George Floyd Justice and Policing Act with a strong component around either eliminating qualified immunity or lowering the threshold by which it applied. That's what I'm thinking. But when we come forward, we're going to hear what Reverend Terry is thinking about that. You're listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The midterm elections are upon us. It is voting season once again. Common Cause's motto is fighting for the democracy we deserve. In service of that goal, Common Cause puts its state and national policy expertise, massive network of grassroots supporters, and nonpartisan approach into action to strengthen our democracy against the challenges we face today. They work at every level of government on priorities that impact each of our lives, like defending the right to vote, limiting big money's influence on our elections, holding public officials accountable, and more. Common Cause is a nonpartisan grassroots organization dedicated to upholding the core values of American democracy. They seek to empower all people to make their voices heard in the political process. This election may be the most important one ever. If you'd like to make a donation or volunteer in service to the Constitution, please visit commoncause.org. That's commoncause.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580. They say time flies when you're having fun. The founding members cohort is now officially over. Hard to believe. It's been a joy sharing what I've discovered after nearly 40 years of conversations with presidents, cultural icons, and game changers in every field of human endeavor. If you missed the first cohort, the good news is that we're already planning the next one. Now, the seats will be limited, and those on our waiting list will receive exclusive early access and special discounts not available to the general public. So, if you are ready to transform the way you connect, lead, and build trust, do not hesitate. Go to TavishTalks.com and join the waiting list today. That's TavishTalks.com. The next cohort is coming. Make sure you are in the room. I'm Tavish Smiley, and I hope to see you there.
Hey LA, spring into savings with a special offer from LADWP. Now through March 31st, get a Flume device for free. What's a Flume? It's an easy-to-install home water monitor and leak detector that helps you catch leaks early and track water use. Don't wait. Order your free Flume before March 31st at ladwp.com/FLUME. That's ladwp.com/FLUME.
Carpal tunnel syndrome, heart failure that doesn't improve with common medicines. These are some signs and symptoms associated with ATTR-CM, or the cardiomyopathy of ATTR amyloidosis, a serious heart condition with symptoms that get worse over time. Amvuttra, vutrisiran, is a prescription medicine given by a healthcare provider that treats ATTR-CM in adults to reduce heart-related death, hospital stays, and urgent visits. In a clinical study, Amvuttra was proven to help people live longer and have fewer heart-related hospital stays and urgent visits over 3 years compared to placebo. Amvuttra lowers the amount of vitamin A in your blood, which can affect vision. Other side effects include pain in the arms or legs, pain in the joints, and shortness of breath. These are not all the possible side effects of Amvuttra. For prescribing information, call 1-833-256-2748 or learn more at amvuttra.com. Ask your doctor about Amvuttra for ATTR-CM.
What if your rooftop could earn you money every year? With LADWP's Solar Rooftops program, you can get solar panels installed and maintained on your home at no cost and earn up to $900 a year. That's up to $18,000 over 20 years. There are no upfront costs, no credit checks, and no annual fees. Plus, you'll help power Los Angeles with clean local solar energy and reduce reliance on fossil fuels. Make your rooftop work for you. Apply today at ladwp.com/solar rooftops.
Yeah. The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me.
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm your guest host, Dr. Nicordelai Corte, in for our friend and brother, Jesse Jackson Jr. Really enjoyed this hour being in conversation with Reverend Terry, who we know as the general minister and president of the Christian Church, Disciples of Christ, right here in the United States and Canada. Reverend Terry, before the break, I brought up the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, and specifically the qualified immunity component of that. If that bill passed, if that component of the bill stayed in and was strong, do you think this moment that we're living in, where we're witnessing examples of lawlessness from not just police officers, local police officers, and sheriffs in different parts of the country, but what we're seeing with ICE agents across the country, do you think that component of the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act would have made a difference in this moment?
I'm with you in that it's hard to measure how much of a difference it could have made, given the fact that we're laying aside so many other norms and laws. But at least we would have had a good 5 years to sort of get that idea instilled in law enforcement culture, that there is accountability. And what I see happening here is not only are we using untrained, unqualified people to do that kind of work, but they're being led and guided by someone who believes that he has, which the Supreme Court has given him, at least in the exercise of any official duties, which I'm sure if pressed, he would try to stretch and talk about what's actually were done in his official duties. But he's operating as though, don't worry if you break the law, because I have the pardon power and I'll pardon you. He pardoned all the January 6th people. So when you have the person that sits in the White House having this really outsized version of the truth that gives him all power, that is not at all managed or moderated by law or by the people, that's a huge problem. One of the most powerful points I think our friend Jesse makes in his book, A More Perfect Union, is that the finger of God is the finger of God, was that the founders, the writers of these documents, with all of their failures, they were slave owners, they were, not necessarily the most moral people themselves. But the one thing they did assume was that the office would be held by someone who had a basic amount of character and morality. And some, the very idea that if you had someone who did not have this morality and character, that impeachment and there would be other things, but they could never have imagined that the American people and that the Congress would just sit idly by and let this kind of immorality and illegality and just literally flying in the face of the law by all sorts of people, that they would allow this to stand. And that's, I think, perhaps the most egregious thing. We have disagreed between the parties for generations. That's not new. what has been new is that we've got one party that simply is silent in the face of egregious inhumanity, egregious flouting of the law. At least in Nixon in the 70s, the Republicans said, look, dude, this can't last. You're going to have to sit down. This is not right. Somebody said to him, this is not right. And we can't operate that way. No one is saying that to this president. And so even the very people in the cabinet who have been called to operate, I'm wondering, how do you sleep with yourself at night? How do you look at yourself in the mirror in the morning when you are willing, when you have a Pam Bondi who simply will not even turn around to face the women who are the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's a horrific assault and exploitation? How do you not answer questions? How do you sit there and disrespect the very body to which you are supposed to be held accountable? It staggers the imagination.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking about my little 3-year-old grandson, and people in the church will say, well, the church is not supposed to be political, blah, blah, blah. They don't understand that the tradition of the Black church is to be not political, not partisan politics, but the history of the Black church in America is to work and fight for justice. And I have a church that's 80% white, many of whom stand with me in the stands that I take, many of whom also critique that and say, oh, we're not supposed to be involved in that kind of work. What is it that you think Jesus was about? And that's why we have to, if we don't read scripture to know what Jesus said or who he is, we don't have any real idea. We got to read it for ourselves. We can't just let people with a fancy and sermons that make us want to shout. That's not enough. We got to understand this thing on our own, and we have to be willing to stand for truth. And that requires moral character. It requires a backbone. It requires courage of a degree that probably, I know my generation, a woman in my 60s, we've not been called upon to stand like this. We've sort of been rolling along, benefiting from what our parents did in the civil rights movement. In college, apartheid was our issue. And we marched and rallied and sat in and did all those things then. But we've not really been asked to make any sacrifices to do what's right. And I believe the nation is going to be called people who care about what's right, people of any faith, every faith, are going to have to stand up and be willing to make a sacrifice to do what is right. Otherwise, and that means doing what is right, going to the polls, doing what is right. If we don't make good choices this time, I fear for the future of this nation. And really, as you can see, what's happening to the whole world because of stupid mistakes that this president has made. The whole world is suffering. Yeah. And so we're so interconnected. We can't think that what we do isolates us from accountability. So that accountability piece is just critical and crucial. And I hope that future houses of Congress will think about the lessons learned during this time and try to codify that kind of qualified immunity and strengthen the laws that hold our elected officials accountability.
We're going to have to leave it there. My thanks to Reverend Terry Hoard Owens, the General Minister and President of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ right here in the United States and Canada. Thank you for your work and your witness. Thank you for reminding us what it can look like for the church to live out its calling in these turbulent times. I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte, your guest host. You've been listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Please join me later today from 4 to 6 p.m. in afternoon drive time as I host A More Perfect Union, talking to immigration attorney Alan Orr and comedian Country Wayne. Thanks for listening. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.